Hey everybody, Motorport59 here. I haven't done any videos for this channel in a few days, about a week actually, I guess. And there are a few reasons for that. One of those reasons is that my life got really busy. I had a lot of personal things I needed to tend to, business that needed to be taken care of, my volunteer work at the museum, uh, catching up on some of the things I got behind on while I was on vacation. I had a couple of days where my old COVID fatigue hit me and slowed me down. It's not as bad as it used to be. I don't get as tired, and I haven't had a day like that, or the 2 days as it turned out, in quite some time. So that's good. I don't know if it's more because it's the symptoms are getting less severe, or that I'm getting a little stronger as time goes on. I don't notice it so much. I don't know. Doesn't matter. It is what it is. But and then the other thing that slowed me down, took some of my time, is it's tax season, and also as far as news, the only thing that's in the news for the last week and a half is Russia Ukraine. And I've made plenty of videos on that. I'm not going to make any more on it unless something really outlandish or unexpected happens. And I'm tired of talking about it. It is what it is, and whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And me blathering on about it to you guys isn't going to change anything. Also, one of the things that took up some of my time is it's tax season. Now, I got my taxes done, they're done, everything's filed, I'm getting money back from federal, I have to pay the state of California $136. But I did okay on taxes this year. I have to have my taxes done, especially now. If I were just surviving only on my pension, it wouldn't be a big deal. I could do them myself, but I can't. I got a lot more stuff going on than that. Uh, business, uh, business, rentals, business. I'm a slumlord. No, I rent a house to my daughter. I make zero money on it. Damn kids. But one of the things I started doing in 2021 was investing in the stock market. And that complicated things. I did okay last year, and I told myself before I started investing, I had the money to do it with, and I thought, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until the Democrats aren't in charge of everything, because I'm not sure what they're going to do, what's going to happen. And I weakened after about a year and started putting money in the stock market, a pretty sizable sum. I started putting money in the stock market, and I did okay in 2021. I didn't invest the whole year, but I did okay. And this year, I haven't lost anything because I haven't sold anything at a loss yet. And uh, this is kind of and this is what the point of this video is going to be about, is surrounding taxes. Now, of course, I wish I didn't have to pay taxes at all. That would be cool. But if we're going to exist as a nation, we have to have taxes. The government has to be able to keep things running, and they can't do that without money, and they won't have any money if they don't get it from us through taxes. But I would love to see the 10% flat tax, just right across the board as far as personal income tax goes. That wouldn't work with corporate taxes. There are just too many expenditures and things that corporations need and businesses need to do. But the 10% flat tax for personal income would be so awesome. And it wouldn't matter if you made $1,000 a year or if you made $1,000,000 a year, 10%. And I think that's fair. I don't think that just because somebody is in a lower income tax bracket, they should have to pay, that they should get to pay fewer taxes. Everybody should pay the same. And the left are always going on and babbling, and the left are always babbling on about equality, or equity as they call it now. Let's make taxes that way. Oh we don't want that to apply to everybody, that equity. We only want it to apply to rich people. Well, I'm not rich. I'm not rich at all. I'm not even wealthy. But anyway, through the over the course of my adult life, my adult working life since the first time I filed taxes was in 1984. Prior to that, I didn't file taxes. I didn't make a lot of money, even at the railroad. I worked there for a couple of years and then got laid off and worked driving trucks and running equipment until I got called back to the railroad in 1984. And 1984 was the first time I ever filed taxes. And over the course of all those years, my effective tax rate was between 12 and 15% generally. And that's the money I had to pay after all my deductions and all that stuff. I never paid any attention to how much money they took out of my check because it didn't matter. I couldn't change that. I could, go up or down on my deductions depending on what I wanted at the end of the year, but I always just tried to break even. I really didn't care if I got any money back as long as I didn't have to pay. And I usually got money back, but not always. But anyway, as I said, my effective tax rate was between 12 and 15%. I didn't pay any attention in 2020 when tax season came around. For that is when I was extremely sick. I just took all my stuff to my tax guy, and I'll be honest with you, I never even looked at it. All I know is I had to pay California some money. I didn't have to pay the federal anything. But with the way things are in my finances now, if it were just my pension, if that's all I had to worry about, I wouldn't even need TurboTax. I could go short form. But I have a rental, I have my investments, I have a business, I have a lot of stuff, and all of those different sections of my finances have different write-offs you can do, give me different write-offs to take to lessen my tax burden. And that's another thing. I think a lot of people, especially younger people, misunderstand the term write-off. When I write something off, or when you write something off, that doesn't mean that you get that money back. All that means is it lessens your tax burden by X amount of dollars, by whatever that write-off is, and makes you responsible for a smaller amount of tax. And that's how I was always able to keep my effective tax rate under 20%, no matter how much money I made. And sometimes I made quite a bit of money. But you hear people talk about loopholes. There's no such thing as a loophole in the tax code. It's the tax code. It's law. It is a law. Everything that goes on in taxes, whether it's your personal finances, corporate taxes, business, whatever, there are no loopholes. And I'm perfectly honest when I do my taxes. I give a lot of money to charity, and I have a lot of write-offs. Last year is when all my COVID bills came due, and I had over $11,500 in medical bills after insurance that I had to pay. I didn't get to write all of that off, but I get to write a significant portion of it off, and that just lessened my tax burden more and more and more, and in the end, I got money back. But you still have to come up with that money up front. When I take the vacation I took recently, that 9-day vacation, I wrote the whole trip off. Mileage, you can't write off gas and mileage. And that's what my tax guy told me. Unless you're driving an RV that gets 5 miles to the gallon and needs a lot of work, you're better off to just take the mileage. So I write off the mileage, meals, hotels, any books I bought, history books that I bought that I use for research material for my business, for my channel, all the money that I spent except for little goodies and trinkets and whatever is all a write-off, and it's good. That happened this year, so it'll help me at the end of this year. But there are no loopholes. I do nothing illegal. These big corporations they pay accountants a boatload of money to make sure that they dig into the tax code and get every break that's in that tax code, that they get every write-off, everything, and they're doing nothing illegal, immoral, or anything else. They are following the code and the laws that the United States Treasury Department has set down where our taxes are concerned. And I get so sick of listening to uninformed, uneducated people talk about how corporations don't pay any taxes. Of course they pay taxes. Rich people don't pay taxes. Of course they pay taxes. The top 5% of earners in the United States, the top 5 wealthiest individuals in the United States, and the top 5% of corporations in the United States pay about 60 or 70%. I can't remember. I don't remember what the numbers was. I didn't look it up. I just remember hearing them and seeing them. But they pay most of the taxes, the revenue that comes into the United States government. We're talking about federal taxes here. I don't know how it works for each state. Each state is different. Local taxes are different, blah, blah, blah. But I just get tired of hearing people talk about they're cheating. No, they're not. And they pay these guys to be above boards. Hey, sometimes they don't. They claim things that they shouldn't claim or that they weren't supposed to claim, whatever, and they get caught and they have to pay fines. But that happens to individuals too. I have guys I worked with and family members who claimed some outrageous stuff to write off in the past, and they got caught. A couple of them have gotten away with it, but they get caught. They have to pay all those taxes plus interest plus fines, and you're better off. So I had to tell my tax guy, I don't want to do anything that raises any flags. These are my write-offs, these are my expenditures, this is that, and I don't need anything else. And if I end up having to pay, I end up having to pay. I just don't want to get audited. And there are things that will put up flags. There's no such thing as, people think there's some kind of a minimum or maximum you can, charitable donations thing that you can get away with without receipts or without having, and that's just not true. I know people who still in. My tax guy, one of the first things he told me when I started using him, I was asking him about that because I didn't give as much back then, and he looked at my past tax returns from this shyster that I had for a tax guy for a while, and he said, "Is this what you actually give? You have receipts for this or for this much of this?" And I was like, "No, I heard you can do this." And he said, "No, that's not the case." I was told by the Railroad Retirement Board that I didn't have to pay state taxes anymore when I got my pension. That's not true. It's true in some states, but it's not true in California. Because you can bet that anything that California can suck out of you, they will. And the way my taxes are taken out at the state level and the way taxes work with railroad retirement, and I'm sure lots of other places do the same thing, where I have a tier 1 and a tier 2 retirement, and the tier 1 is the larger amount, and that is the larger amount, and that is what is taxable. He said it used to be the smaller amount, but they flip-flopped that around because they weren't making enough money. But I don't mind paying taxes because I understand what taxes do to keep the nation running. I don't like it when my tax dollars are spent on issues with which I disagree morally or which I think are bad for the country. There are things that taxes are spent on. There are things they spend tax dollars on with which I disagree, but it's just mostly a political thing, and that's just the way things are. But I understand why we pay taxes. I understand that it's important that we pay taxes. I actually still hear people talking about they don't have to file taxes because that's taxation without representation. And I have no idea what people like that are talking about anymore. There's no such thing as taxation without representation, and there hasn't been taxation without representation by the federal government since since after the Revolutionary War. Everyone has a representative in Congress, and that's all that means. It doesn't mean that they have to agree with you or represent your views or your opinions. They're your representatives, whether you voted for them or not. But anyway, taxes are taxes. They are what they are. They're a part of our life as Americans. They're a part of everyone's life in the whole world. It doesn't matter where people live. There are places, I'm sure, where people are, they don't have any income, so they don't have any taxes. And but America's not one of those places. So stop whining about your taxes. Stop bitching about. So stop whining about your taxes. Stop whining about having to pay them. Stop whining about loopholes and greedy corporations and all that, because those greedy corporations are the only reason most of you have a job. So just stop complaining about it. Pay your taxes. Bite the bullet if you have to. And another thing I always try to tell younger people, everybody should know this, especially people over 30, is you shouldn't count on a tax return as a savings account, because sometimes that just may not work out. And I know people who spend money in anticipation of a large tax return, and they don't end up getting a large tax return for whatever reason. Something changed in their financial affairs for which they didn't compensate. Always pay attention to how much money you're earning and whether it's moving you into another tax bracket, where that money came from. Was it a gift? Was it a prize? Whatever. Pay attention to that stuff, because it's all taxed at different rates. I found out about a few things in investing this year about, where I had sold something and made some money, and then bought some back in too short a time and ended up selling that and lost money, and that's not okay. You can do it, but you're not going to get the loss write-off out of it. It's called a wash sale. And but live and learn. Next year I know better, and this year I'll know better. Which the market is doing so poorly right now. It's incredible. I'm down right now. I didn't even look today, but I believe I'm down about 35% right now. I haven't sold any of it, so I haven't lost any money technically. They could rock it back up tomorrow and get me back to breaking even. I'll be okay with that. But anyway, taxes. You got to live with them, and you might as well just pay them and move on. Just make sure you're doing everything right, and if you're going to write things off, make sure that you're writing them off properly. Make sure if you don't say you have a business, go get a business license. For my other YouTube channel, that's the only reason I have a business license, is for my other channel. I can write off all kinds of things, and make sure that you get all your ducks in a row before you go file your taxes or get your tax guy to do them, so you don't end up hosing yourself on top of the government hosing you. All right, what do you think about that? How do you feel about paying taxes? You okay with paying your fair share? You're not okay with paying other people's unfair share? Let me know in the comments below. Shoot me an email at motorport59@gmail.com. Like, share, subscribe, click on the bell if you want to be notified of future content. We'll see you all later.